In this video, we'll go through the exam questions that cover the criteria approximate by rounding numbers less than 1000 to the nearest 10 or 100 and use this rounded answer to check results. You can locate the questions on the mathsmaths.com website under Entry 3. The questions come from different exam boards. We'll start with the non-calculator questions and then we'll move to the calculator questions. Here is the first question. Paolo also works on the refreshment counter. He sold these items last weekend. Bags of sweets, 289. Drinks, 308. Popcorn, 244. Paolo works out how many items he has sold in total. 289 add 308 add 244 equals 841. He rounds each number to the nearest 10 to check his answer. Show how he does this check. Okay, so we're going to round these numbers to the nearest 10. So the first thing to do is to locate where are the tens. And that's the 8 here, because we've got 289. So 80, that's the tens. 8 tens. For the drinks, 308. So there are no tens, that's a 0. 0 there tells us that there are no tens. Popcorn, 244, that's 4 tens. So we're going to take these in turn to round them to the nearest 10. So 289, that is in between 280 and 290. Which one is it closer to? So 285 will be about here, 289 will be very close to 290. That's why it's rounded to 290, not 280. Looking at 308, that is in between 300 and 310. 308 is roughly about here, so that is very close to 310. And 244, that is in between 240 and 250. 244 is about here, so that is closer to 240. So we've rounded these. The other way to look at this would have been to have a look at the digit on the right. So next to the 8 on the right, we've got 9. So that determines whether we round to 280 or 290. That's a 9. So if it's a 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9, we're going to round up. This is what it means to round up, to go to 290. So to go to the right here, to go to the bigger number. Looking at 308, so next to the 0, which represents the tens, we've got 8. So that means we're going to round up because it's above 5. So 310 is what we round that to. 244, that's a 4. So if it's a 0, 1, 2, 3 or 4, we round down. So we go to the number that is smaller. In this case, 240. So what we need to do is add 290, 310 and 240. And see whether the total is close to 841. So we've got 3 zeros, which equal 0 when added. 9 and 1, that is 10, and the 4, that is 14. So 4 down and 1 carried over. 2 and 3, that is 5, and the 2 is 7, and the 1 we carried over, that is 8. So 840, which is very close to 841. So that is showing us that the calculation is correct. So that's a way of checking answers. Cakes need 475 grams of sugar. Cookies need 115 grams of sugar. Amy thinks she needs 590 grams of sugar in total, that is to make cakes and cookies, because this question links to a previous question that is not here. She rounds 475 grams and 115 grams to the nearest 100 to check her total. Show how Amy does this check. So we're going to round the two numbers to the nearest 100. So first, let's locate the hundredths digit. So when I read 475, 400, so 4 is that digit which represents the hundreds. 115, so that is 115. 475, that sits in between 400 and 500. So this would be 450, 475 would be around here. So that is very close to the 500. That's why we're going to round it to 500. Also, you can look at the digit next to the 4 on the right. That's a 7. So if it's a 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9, we round up. So we go to 500 rather than go down to 400. Now 115, that is in between 100 and 200. So 150 is about there. 115 is going to be roughly about there. So that is very close to 100. That's why we're going to round it to 100. Also, if we look at the digit on the right of the hundreds, we've got a 1 there. So that's why we're going to round down. So we've got 500 and 100, which when added together they make 600, which is very close to 590. So that shows that Amy has done the calculation correctly. Round 826 to the nearest 100. So 826, 8 represents the hundreds. So this sits in between 800 and 900. But looking at the 2 there, that's quite low. So we're going to round it down. It's below 5, so we're going to round it to 800. What is 589 rounded to the nearest 100? So again, 589. So the 5 represents the hundreds. So to decide, we're going to look on the right that we've got 8, so it's above 5. That's why we're going to round up and go to 600. Round 734 to the nearest 100. So 734. So the 7 represents the hundreds. To decide, we're going to look on the right next to the 7, that's a 3. So we're going to round down to 700. If that was 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9, then we'd have to round up and go to 800. From now on we can use a calculator. A water meter shows how many units of water Ria and her friends use. Ria reads the meter when they move in. She reads the meter again after 1 month. How many units of water did the friends use in 1 month? Show your working and your answer in the box below. So this links to another question, but first we've got to use a calculator to work out the difference. So 820 units after 1 month and 789 units when they moved in. So we're going to do 820 take away 789, which gives us 31 units. Round 789 to the nearest 10. So 789 to the nearest 10. So that we first locate the tens digit, 789. So 8 represents the tens. Looking at the digit on the right next to the 8, that's a 9. So we're going to round up. So the 8 will become 9. The digit in front will remain the same. And the digits after become zeros. So 790 is the answer. Use the rounded number to check your answer to question 1. So 790. So we're going to take away 790 from the 820. 820 take away 790 gives us 30. So that tells us that the 31 we had here, that was very close to it, so it's accurate. So 820 take away 790 gives us 30. Brett needs 450 packs of paper for next week. He has 284 packs of paper. How many more packs of paper does Brett need? Show your working and your answer here. So he needs 450 and he has 284. So if I take away 284 from 450, we can work out how many more packs he needs. So 450 take away 284 gives us 166. Round 284 to the nearest 10. So 284. 80, the 8 represents the tens. So to decide whether we keep that as an 8 or we go up to 9, we look at the 4. So 4, that is below 5, so we're going to keep this as 8, rounding down, in other words. The digit in front remains the same, the digit after becomes 0, so 280. Use the rounded number to check your answer to question 3. So 450 will do. Take away 280, not 284, which was the exact number. So 450, take away 280. Is that answer close to 166? Let's have a look. That is 170, which is very close to 166. Alex has a list of how many words he writes each day. Monday, 253 words, Tuesday, 117 words, Wednesday, 226 words. Alex thinks the total number of words is 596. He rounds each number to the nearest 10 to check his answer. Show how he does this check. So we're going to round the numbers to the nearest 10. 253. 50. The 5 represents the tens. So that number is between 250 and 260. To decide, we're going to look at the 3 here. So the 3 that is below 5, that's why we're going to round down. So we're going to keep this as 250. Looking at 117, the tens are here. So to decide, we're going to look at the 7, so that is above or over 5. That's why we're going to round that to 120. So we're going to round up. 226, that's the tens digit. So looking at the 6, that's above 5. So we're going to round up again to 230. Adding these together now, 250 add 120 add 230 gives us 600. So that is very close to 596, and it shows that Alex has done the calculation correctly. Claire looks at the costs of 2 activities she can do while in Spain. Hot air balloon ride £144, diving lessons £118. She thinks she will need £262 to do both. Claire rounds each cost to the nearest 10 to check her answer. Show how she does this check. So we'll first locate the tens. Where are the tens? So this is the units, this is the tens. So right after the units, on the left, we're going to have the tens. And these are the hundreds. So the tens, to decide whether we keep this as 140 or we go up to 150, we need to look at the units. So that's the 4 there, and it's below 5. That's why we're going to round down to 140. 118, that's the tens, and to decide we're going to look at the units. So that's an 8 over 5, that is, so we're going to round this to 120. So we're going to round up. So using a calculator, we'll go 140 add 120, that gives us 260, which is indeed very close to 262. So that shows that Claire has done the calculation correctly. The vet has a list showing the numbers of animals seen over 3 months. Month 1, 288. Month 2, 372. Month 3, 129. She thinks the total number of animals is 789. The vet rounds each number to the nearest 100 to check her answer. Show how she does this check. So we're rounding the numbers to the nearest 100. So let's locate the hundreds digit. So we've got units, tens, hundreds. Units, tens, hundreds. Units, tens, hundreds. To decide, we're going to look on the right. We've got 8 here, so we're going to round up to 300. Because when you round to the nearest 100, your answer is going to be 100. So 200 or 300. No tens or units. So looking at 372, the digit on the right next to the 3, that's a 7, so that's over 5. We're going to round this up to 400. And the final one, to decide, we're going to look at the 2, so that's below 5. That's why we're going to round down to 100. Adding these together, we get 800, which you can also check using a calculator. And that number is very close to 789. So that shows that the vet has done the calculation correctly. Rishi checks how many cups are recycled. On Friday, 321 cups were recycled. On Saturday, 573 cups were recycled. Rishi works out how many cups were recycled in total. So 321 add 573 equals 894. He rounds each number to the nearest 10 to check his answer. Show how he does this check. So rounding to the nearest 10, in 321, the 2 represents the tens. To decide, we're going to look at the units. So that is below 5. So we're going to round down to 320. In 573, the 7 represents the tens. Looking at the units, which is 3, that is below 5, so we're going to round down again to 570. Adding these two together, 0, 9, 8. You can also do it with a calculator or check it with a calculator. But 890, that is very close to 894, so that tells us that Rishi has done the calculations correctly. Round 886 to the nearest 10. So locating the tens, they are represented by 8. So to decide, we're going to look at the units. 6, that is above 5, so we're going to round up to 890. A farmer has 11 dairy cows. Each cow gives 28 litres of milk a day. She wants to know how much milk she will get from all of the cows. What amount of milk will she get each day? So it's 11 cows. They make 28 litres each. So by multiplying, we can work out how much milk they all will produce. So 11 times 28 gives us 308. Use approximation to check your answer. So approximation, that's another word for rounding. So we're going to round the 11. We can round it to the nearest 10, and that would be 10. You can't be 20 because 20 is too far off. And 28, we can round that to 30. So 10 times 30, that gives us 300, which is very close to the 308. So that tells us the calculation has been done correctly. And this is the end of the questions.